Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Amber Ranson.
And I'm Vanessa Tiberio. Here are some of the stories we're following for you this morning from the On the Record newsroom. It's official. Ontario voters are heading to the polls in a short month from now. Premier Doug Ford met with Ontario's Lieutenant Governor Tuesday. Lieutenant Governor Edith Dumont accepted Ford's request to dissolve the provincial parliament. The election will be held on February 27th, sending voters to polls a year and a half early. Ford cites looming U.S. tariff threats as a reason for his snap election decision. Today marks the second day Ontario party leaders are hitting the campaign trail.
The Ontario government says it plans to spend $1.4 billion on a plan to connect every Ontarian with a primary health provider by 2029. This investment will add to the $400 million already earmarked for primary care improvement. The announcement was made at a press conference on Monday, delivered by Jane Philpott, chair of the province's Primary Care Action Team, and Health Minister Sylvia Jones. The announcement was made just 2 days before Premier Doug Ford triggered a snap election. The move was immediately criticized by the Liberals as election bait.
Premier Ford's decision to expand alcohol availability will cost the province up to $1.4 billion through 2030. Ontario's budget watchdog released a report on Monday breaking down the financial impact of bringing wine, beer, and coolers to grocery stores. Ford initially planned to expand alcohol sales by 2060, but this choice was accelerated last year. Speeding up alcohol rollout is estimated to cost the province more than $600 million. The actual cost to the province will depend on how much alcohol is purchased and from where.
Premier Ford's government is taking new actions towards removing bike lanes in Toronto. The province says it's hired an engineering company to remodel the design of Toronto roads. Affected bike lanes include those on Bloor Street West, Yonge Street, and University Avenue. The government made these decisions under the Reducing Gridlock, Saving You Time Act, which allows the province to remove bike lanes they see are contributing to traffic congestion. The province is also allowed to veto bike lanes where they see necessary. The City of Toronto estimates Ford's action will cost $48 million, after it already costs $27 million just for installation. Ford has rejected the numbers in this estimate.
TTC riders are in for longer subway closures on weekends in 2025. The TTC presented its annual report on infrastructure upgrades at a Board of Governors meeting on Monday. It included the expected subway closures for the year. More full weekend closures and earlier weeknight service suspensions are planned for this year. Larger closure boundaries and multi-day shutdowns are also in the cards. The subway will see 28 weekend closures and more than 200 early shutdowns on both lines. The transit agency says the repair work will cost over $11 billion over the next decade.
Navigating Toronto's underground passageways just got a little bit easier. Toronto-based engineer Jagiel Tefilo has created an app that lays out the complicated passageways. The path is home to many restaurants, stores, and shopping that span more than 30 kilometers, all beneath the city of Toronto. Teofilo's app is complete with a 3D map that users can locate themselves on. It also includes photos for visual aid. The app details the 170 complex entryways that make up the path. In the past, path users have only had the stationary map to refer to.
The pedestrian bridge connecting Kerr Hall East and the Rogers Communication Center is temporarily closed. TMU closed the bridge Tuesday for unplanned repairs. The work is to prevent damage to the buildings during extremely cold weather. TMU's Facility Management Department says contractors are sealing the inside of the bridge to prevent cold air from entering the buildings. The school recommends using the street-level entrances on Gould Street instead. It's currently unknown when the bridge will reopen.
Just days away from U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs threatening to hit Canada, Emma Reynolds has the latest on how students at TMU are feeling about these threats.
With U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to hit Canada with 25% tariffs just days away, a student at TMU thinks his comments hold little weight.
I think a lot of his decisions are being overly exaggerated by him, especially like with the 25% tariffs. I don't think he's going to get anywhere near that number, probably something closer to 10, but he's just showing these really strong stances to kind of get people on his side and kind of convince the public or even scare other nations into thinking it's going to be a bigger threat than it really is.
These threats have come as Trump says Canada needs to tighten up on border security, immigration, and crack down on illegal drugs. Jason Colby, a professor of U.S. history at the University of Victoria, says this kind of conflict could remind people of Canadian patriotism.
An ally, threatens your nation as a nation with tariffs. It can remind people that their primary political identity is the nation state, is Canada, and you might actually see a bit of a revival of Canadian patriotism.
Henry, a student at TMU, thinks we should hold our ground when facing threats from the United States.
We really need to advocate for ourselves and just, I guess, hold our ground and just say, we can't accept these tariffs and we are going to remain a sovereign nation.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford says an early election on February 27th will give Ontarians the opportunity to give him a clear mandate. Although it is still unclear whether Trump will impose 25% tariffs on Canadian goods this weekend, students at TMU remain optimistic despite Trump's threats against Canada. For On the Record News, I'm Emma Reynolds.
In sports, 3 TMU Bold men's hockey players have just returned from a tournament in Italy. Jasmin Murray covers their games and highlights from the trip.
In sport, there is no greater achievement than being able to represent your country at an international tournament. For 3 of our TMU Bold men's hockey team, this dream has just come true. Forward Connor Bowie, goalkeeper Kai Edmonds, and coach Johnny Duco have just returned after representing Team Canada at the International University Winter Games in Italy. There, they managed to beat Slovenia 5-2 in a final game, bringing home the gold with Team Canada. For Connor, the opportunity to wear the maple leaf was the greatest honour for him.
Just getting the opportunity to represent my country and to wear that jersey with the maple leaf on it was something I've thought about my whole hockey career, ever since I started playing as a young kid. So yeah, it meant a lot to me. It meant everything, actually, to finally get that opportunity. It was pretty special.
The tournament also let them play with some of the other best ice hockey players from universities all around Canada. Everyone from Team U was valuable during the games, with Connor scoring multiple goals and Kai being the starting goalkeeper and only returning player from last time's gold-winning team. But despite all the goals, saves and wins, another moment was the highlight for Connor.
After we won gold, we all stood in a line and we were kind of like looking at all the Team Canada fans that were there. And they weren't actually playing. They weren't going to play the team. They weren't going to play O Canada for the team. And we were kind of upset about that. So we actually sang the national anthem to all the Canadian fans that came.
Due to the competition, they missed the first few games of the season. But now they're back with their experience, hoping to win some more with the Bold this time. We wish them luck on their games this weekend. I've been Jasmin Murray.
And now for your entertainment update. From iconic farewell concerts to exciting new music and theatrical productions, reporter Laura Hulls got us covered.
Thanks. Canadian band Sum 41 is set to rock one last time this week as they take their final bow. The group is disbanding after a 30-year run. The legendary punk band is from Ajax, Ontario, and is known for hits like Fat Lip, The Hell Song, and Blood in My Eyes. They are playing their last farewell show tonight at Scotiabank Arena here in Toronto. But the band's final performance is set for March 30th at this year's Juno Awards in Vancouver. In other music news, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's 17-year-old son Xavier is launching his music career. He teased his first single, Till the Night's Done, on January 24th on his Instagram page. The song blends influences of R&B and melodic rap. It's set to come out on February 21st. And for theater lovers, don't miss La Reine Garçon, a new production from the Canadian Opera Company. It's their first co-commission with the Opéra de Montréal. The show explores themes of faith, knowledge, love, and duty. It's running from January 31st until February 15th at the Four Seasons Center for the Arts. And lastly, Kim's Convenience is back where it all began. The play that inspired the TV series has returned to Toronto's Soul Pepper Theatre. It's helmed by its original writer, Ins Choi, and director, Wayne Mangesha. The story follows the Kim family and their Toronto convenience store, exploring themes of family, identity, and community. The play is set to relaunch on January 30th until March 2nd. And that's your entertainment update. Back to you in the studio.
The Society of the Creative School has elected Ria Sidhu as the new president after internal elections last week.
Haley Sengsavanh sat down with her for an exclusive interview.
Thanks, Amber and Vanessa. Ria Sidhu is a third-year journalism student and the new president of the Society of the Creative School. We're so excited to learn more about your presidency. There hasn't been a journalism student as the president of the Society of the Creative School in at least 6 years. You're also the only current executive member that is a journalism student. How do you hope your presidency will impact other journalism students?
To start, I think I'm just excited that there's a journalism student on the exec team and even on the team in general. I think without me right now, we don't have any journalism students. But with that being said, it's nice to just bring a journalistic voice, and not even that in terms of like what we learn academically journalism-wise, but just representing journalism students, representing the program, students across all years in the program, and even just teaching people what the SCS or the Society of the Creative School does, and explaining that we're the student body that represents the students in the Creative School.
Well, before being elected as president, you were also the Society of the Creative School's journalism director. You were also the co-president of the Journalism Course Union. How do you think your experience in those roles might help you in this new role as president?
I think I've built connections over the last 3 years being at TMU that kind of have helped me get to become the president now, and even just my network within the student body and meeting the amount of students I've met and knowing how students are feeling in classes, just around campus and all these things has helped, and just having an idea of where students are at and how they feel, and then bringing that knowledge and experiences to now my presidency, and then even just the team in general, explaining to people the journalism side of things rather than the other programs that we see in the Creative School.
That's great. Besides holding leadership positions within this organization, you also had experience successfully pitching a project, Frugal Radio. How do you think your experience on the other side of the pitching table might help you get a better grasp on what the process for student funding is like?
You really see like the other end of it. I think being on the board of directors, you're usually used to being the people just listening to pitches and then hearing them, asking questions, and then you kind of roll through them all the time. And then being on the other end of it, you get used to how the person pitching feels when they come in. Super nerve-wracking. You're walking into a room of like 15 people, and they're all staring at you, and then they bust you with questions right after. And so being on that end of it was really humbling, I would say. You get the questions asked to you rather than being the one asking the questions, and then either you get approved or you don't get approved for funding. In my case, I was approved for funding, which was nice. But like, I think the biggest thing to remember now being the president is that nervousness, or like that kind of the things you think twice about before you come in and pitch and things like that to a whole room of people that you've never really met or seen before. And then just kind of making sure you're making that welcoming environment for the people that are coming in to pitch.
That's very important. Mm-hmm. My last question for you is, what do you hope that you'll be able to accomplish with your team during your term?
Successfully fund more student projects is a big one. We're really hoping to put on more events this semester. It's a big thing. Again, our money comes from student ancillary fees, and so we want to put those fees back into the student body. And one way to do that is student projects, and the next way to do that is events. And so putting on events for students is a big goal that we want to achieve this semester. And finishing the term with a good internal team is a big goal of mine. Making sure we all trust each other, can work well together, and then just enjoy the work that we do while we're doing it, rather than dreading the work that we have to do.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, Ria, for sharing your story with us today. I'm going to throw things back to you.
That's all for On the Record this January 30th, 2025. I'm Vanessa Tiberio.
And I'm Amber Ranson.
Join us for On the Record next week as we round out the latest stories from the OTR newsroom.
For the latest 24/7, visit ontherecordnews.ca. Have a great day.